Hi, Chris. Hi, Kwa. Uh, Thanks for the feedback, Kwa. It was great. Some of them obviously were a bit easier to address, and a couple of them I had to rattle my brain a little bit to try and figure out what it meant. Obviously, the easier items that I've addressed were mainly in the sketchbook, things like addressing note points and etc., which I had missed. So I've sorted those out in the levels and the floor plans. Um, Other items like materiality and spatial articulation was one that I was struggling about, and I sent you that email, and then I figured it out afterwards, and hopefully I'm heading in the right direction with that. Um, so I've tried to just begin with some sketches, and I intend to convert a few of these into perspectives for the A2 as well by Sunday. Um, and I'm showing the A2 tonight as well for some feedback on how it's laid out. Um, Basically, the items that I'm addressing from phase one through to phase two with the research on students, academic research presented by Moore and Hines and a couple of other authors. Inclusivity, sense of connection, and ownership, etc. I've addressed some of those on the interior spaces, looking at the outdoor spaces, being able to connect with the surroundings is what I've been aiming for. Connection between the balconies, the rooftops, sight and sound, basically being able to see what's happening here if there's an event or something happening, being able to um, connect with the rooftops from the balconies, walking around a building in that manner. I've tried to show those in these sketches. At the same time, the main features of the building is connection with the streets. All these balconies have another set on the back end of the building on different levels, which everyone have access to, and they have access to the streets, basically being able to connect with them. The covered side alleyway, creating a place where the coffee shop in this corner building can be used, and obviously this is the disabled blocks where people are using, so they have the best access and the easiest access to them, so they're not feeling isolated and feel a sense of connection. The other thing that was interesting that you mentioned was the roof. Roof line, wider flat roofs, and obviously you mentioned it with the group as well in the collab session. Until that point, I don't know why I had done a flat roof. I guess build up a building and put a flat roof. It definitely made sense. I went and had a look at that again to give the building a better um, identity in a way. And that identity gives the people a sense of ownership as well. Um, so with this simple sketch, I've tried to show a timeline of the four sides of the building. So front, side, back, side. Just a quick sketch indicating the roof line. Reds, the balcony spaces. Greens, the rooftop gardens. Blacks, the front shapes of the roof itself, and grey in the background. By tipping these up, I'll be able to show this in the render. I managed to add a set of windows up top there that lets air, light in, and at the same time have a grill to let fresh air in. I intend to show that on a next set of sketches down here. A similar thing, just showing the light and the air, what happens with that. So that's this space here. Um, the next thing that I would like is if I could get some feedback on my A2s. That would be awesome. So I can work on it tomorrow and over the weekend. I've taken tomorrow off work. I've had the kids sick for a few days, so I haven't had great luck this week, but I've taken tomorrow off work so I can do a bit more work on here. This is my phase 1, A2, and leading from there, I've gone into phase 2. A couple of things that I need to finish off, but I'll go through those. I've started the phase 2 with the research background, basically what student housing is, what academic sources have pointed out, the spaces that I'm trying to address from phase 1, belonging, ownership, and connection, are addressed through those spaces. They're the same items that have been listed by Hines and Macbeth through their research as student needs, in the current environment. So I've got a bit of information on that. Programmatic overlays of spaces that I'm considering, and again, these are little icons that I came up with from that research that I did to sort of make it easier, and I've got those on the floor plans there as well, that I've listed out there. The beginning sketches, obviously, that I started with, just the doodling. So I thought it's important to show that where it's all began for student houses for me, and how the research has shaped my outcomes as I've gone through it. How the project considers these spaces and how it intends to address it. That's the question that I've posed here, and I've written a bit of an excerpt on that. And again, it's the images from before where I've tried to shape the building, showing the connections, the alleyway access, the street connection, uh, and you've mentioned humanizing our buildings. That's what I've tried to address here. This isometric view where I've shown the people and how it will be used, what parts of it are being used on the outdoors. Obviously, the internals I've shown on the floor plans, but this is for the external. A quick little diagram showing why we need to look at these. The research suggests that student numbers are on an increase, especially with some of the third world and second world countries picking up their numbers, and tertiary education becoming a very important part of that. Student housing is in big demand, and I've shown that over the 30-year a ratio of the number of students, which leads me to my second page. And this is the page where I've tried to show most of my diagramming and a couple of other things that I want to show, which I'll mention. Obviously, the shaping of geometry, forming of voids, division, push and pull, and the final one that I've added now is the creating of character, and giving us building an identity through shaping the roof and some of the other small steps that I've taken in that part. And I've shown the approaches in these diagrams above, to the building, which is important because I wanted access from all four sides to the building, to make it easier for the students, obviously, to have, if the education or the university is on this side, they have access to that. If the shops and some other items are on this side, they'll have access to that, so they don't have to walk around the whole building to get to somewhere. Quick in and out can easily be addressed. I've shown the floor and roof plates in their breaks. The reason I've done this is just to show how the plates, where the gaps are and why. So, for example, on the lower level, which has these entries or accesses to the center of the building, you'll see that the plates aren't all joined. And it's the same with the higher levels. There are parts of it that are not joined, which are the roof gardens, and above. So the roof garden is the final plate there, and then after that there's a break. I thought that was important to show around the building as best I could. Done a bit of a solar and wind study in part of the building, just a block here where the shops are, access, balcony, how it's used, solar and wind, how it will affect it with the rooftop garden area there. The elevations. Now, this is something that I know you mentioned to Jeremy. I think Jeremy was asking in a collaborate session, where do we need to put all the elevations in there? Being that I have all these isometrics and the section showing the isometric section as well, showing details of the building, I thought it'd be important to show the roof line and the spaces, the courtyard and rooftop gardens and balconies. These are the spaces mainly that my research indicates that will alleviate some of the issues that I'm mentioning, and create that sense of connection, sense of belonging, ownership, etc. So I've tried to show that. I've shown that in the roof lines, and I've shown that on the 4 elevations, balconies in red, gardens, rooftop gardens in green, courtyard and approaches, which are these accesses that lead into the courtyard. So the courtyard is in the background, and these are the approaches on the ground level. And I've shown those in the blue, and I've done those as the elevations. What I intend to do here, so you've seen, I think 2 or 3 of my floor plans. I intend to lay the rest out. So I'll have the second level, third level, fourth, fifth, and sixth level laid out here, all showing these internal features of my building. And then I've got the perspective for materiality, which is another thing you mentioned on the email for the building, which I've got the concrete walls, precast concrete walls, cobblestone access, deckings, rooftop gardens, and etc. What I intend to have in this corner here is about 3 or 4, depending on how many it will fit, key perspectives that I'll have a line sort of dotted showing where it's come from and what it's addressing, basically articulate that area as best I can into those 4 key perspectives. So that's where I'm at. Any feedback on that would be much appreciated, and thank you very much for your time. One quick question, actually, while I'm here, is if I make these bigger, these floor plans, and try to create a GIF down the center here that goes through each floor plan, so starting from the ground level to the 6th one, if I can get that working, is that okay to do on this project, or do you want to leave that for the 3rd project? Other than that, any feedback would be much appreciated. Thank you so much for your help, guys.